Have you ever wondered how a daily journal can go from this to this? I'm Titleless Musings, and in this series, we will be exploring journaling, how to begin, my advice for you as somebody who has journaled for 4 years, and all the different things that come with the art of journaling. We'll discuss how to practice journaling, how to set up a journal, different pages you can add, and my best tips that I wish I had known when I started journaling. Hello and welcome to, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Titleless Musings, and this is the 4th video in the Musings on Journaling series. Today in this video, we will be going over monthly pages and how they apply to a daily journal. And in the background of this video, you'll be able to watch me make my October monthly pages in real time and see examples from my own journals of what I'm talking about. So without further ado, let's get straight into this video's topic of what are monthly pages. To put it simply, monthly pages are simply pages that either mark a new month or contain things that are applicable to a whole month. Monthly pages are more commonly found in bullet journals to track things like monthly moods, monthly to-do lists, monthly budgets, etc. Their purpose in a journal is to aid you with things that you need to reference for a month, or to help you find a month when you're looking back on your journals. A question you may be asking me right now is, do I need monthly pages if I'm not doing a bullet journal? And the answer is no, you do not need monthly pages even if you were doing a bullet journal. You may not even want monthly pages depending on the type of journal you're using. Monthly pages can be applied to any journal, however, so in reading journals you may want to do a monthly tracker of words read, and then those would count towards an end of year total. In commonplace books, perhaps you have a roundup of monthly sources that you want to refer to, or in bullet journaling, as I said, you may have monthly mood trackers. Despite the usefulness of monthly pages, they are completely optional and not a requirement. So you may be saying, Titleless, if I'm keeping a daily journal, why would I want monthly pages? So let me put this out to you. Monthly pages do not have to be monthly trackers, especially not in a daily journal. Now, I used to use monthly trackers, and I would track sleep, mood, and habits over the course of each month, because for me, it was easier to keep up with than a yearly tracker. Where this became problematic for me was that I wasn't always truthful with my trackers. For instance, on my habit tracker, I used to track water intake, but I'd feel bad if I wasn't drinking enough, so I'd fill the box in anyways. Since my trackers were then inaccurate, there was no point in me keeping them. Monthly pages for me now are just markers of the months as they pass. I do 2 specific monthly spreads. One that you're seeing me work on right now is my monthly cover page and collage. So this is a 2-page spread that I do that fits with some kind of theme that I've decided. The cover will usually say something like Hello October, for instance, and the collage page on the left side is just a collection of things I'm enjoying right now, or stickers that I was just particularly vibing with. My second monthly spread that you'll see later in the video is a monthly soundtrack or playlist, and I've kept this up for the last few years. In 2024, I adapted my monthly soundtrack to be 12 songs that really defined my month. Throughout the month, I would write the title, artist, and genre of the songs that were either released in the month, or that describe how I felt that month, or even just songs that I was listening to a lot in a given month. At the end of each month, I'll print off the album cover of all the songs referenced, glue them into my journal, and then I have a visual representation of 12 songs each month, or roughly 156 songs a year. And I say 156 songs because I will do 24 songs during December. These 2 spreads now are all that I keep for monthly pages. They allow me to remind myself at a quick glance where I was at that period in my life, and they're a quick visual representation between months in my journal, since I usually spend about 3 months in each journal. If you decide to use monthly pages, you may choose to do something like this, where it can be simple and easy. As I said earlier in the video, I've used habit trackers, mood trackers, and sleep trackers before, and I stopped most of them because I either became inconsistent or they were inaccurate because I wasn't tracking accurately. Another reason I never went back to them was just because it was so tedious. Having to draw a ton of boxes each month, fit designs, draw pages, it just wasn't for me anymore, so I stopped. Of these, the one I found most helpful was the mood tracker. I would use it to reference my entry or lack thereof on a day. I found, for instance, when I was feeling particularly down, I would skip entries. So this allowed me the chance to hone in on my journaling and really focus on what I wanted to get from it. The tracker that I hated the most was my habit tracker, but I think that's just because I really overdid it. I tried to track so many habits that it really got out of hand, and there was no way I could keep up with the pressure I was putting on myself, so I completely scrapped it. Though I don't discourage you from trying to keep a monthly tracker, start small and work up, and that should help you avoid some of the mistakes that I made. If you're still looking for ideas for monthly trackers, try some that I've already spoken about. Pick a few habits and track them through the month, or track your sleep each night of a month with a bar graph. Draw fun patterns and fill them in with various colors to make a monthly mood tracker. You could also use something like a productivity tracker to track how productive you are at work, or on content creation, or on your small business. On the subject of social media and content creation, if that is something you do, you could track followers or subscribers and see how that ebbs and flows over the course of a month. You could track movies and TV shows that you watch in the month, or even simply track how often you're getting outside and breathing some fresh air. You should track the things that matter to you, and broadly, those trackers should guide you to a more fulfilling life where you feel more in control. Everyone who does themed monthly pages will likely have a different way that they come up with themes. But for me, I come up with themes based on the feeling that a month gives me, or an event in that month. For example, as someone who enjoys Christmas, maybe your December themes are based around Christmas. During the other months of the year, I'll just go with the feeling that I get. This August, I wrote in a daily entry that August feels like the sunset of summer because everybody's going back to school or getting back from vacation and the days are starting to draw in earlier. So I drew a sunset for August and knew that I'd understand the meaning of that. When it comes to how you should determine your themes, you should go with your gut. If there's a holiday that you celebrate in the upcoming month, you could choose to design a theme around that. Or if you're just really into sharks one month, make your month a shark theme. As with daily journaling, absolutely anything goes, and it's your chance to really be creative and channel that energy in your journal. As a fellow journaler who cannot draw or do art, you can still try. Though my drawings are never as good as some of the artists you'll see online, I like my funky little sketches, and they're very me, which is what my journal should be. If you absolutely do not even want to try drawing, you could print a coloring page, fill it in, cut it out, and then put that in your journal, as you just saw in an October example I gave. You can also trace on trace paper and then sketch that onto your page, or you could just do a collage of stickers, paper, receipts, and scribbles that make you think of the upcoming month. You do not have to have a monthly theme at all. Your month could just be a quick July or Hello July written in black pen, and then you get right back to your daily entries. Themes can just be quick and easy visual representations to skip between month to month in your journal, and also allow your pages to be distinguished as such. You can still have monthly pages that are plain and have no theme. Those are just as efficient and pretty. This is a question I used to ask myself before I started keeping monthly themes. But themes do not have to match a month. They can just inspire you to create. As I used the example of Halloween earlier, I'll use it again here. If the first thing that comes to your mind when you think October is Halloween, that could be a good way for you to easily come up with an idea for your theme, and that matches the month. If, however, you have a birthday in October, you might think of balloons or cake, and that matches the month for you personally. It also doesn't have to match a month. You could really want to draw a beach in January, and that could be your theme. That is a personal preference, and that's down to you to decide. When it comes to the question of when you should set up your monthly pages, this is going to be completely personal and dependent on your schedule with work, school, or just your own engagements in life. I personally set up my monthly pages a week before the month begins, typically on a Sunday afternoon because that's really the only time I have spare. Doing it a week ahead allows me to estimate how many pages I'll use for the rest of the current month so I can plan ahead and set up the spreads in the journal. My only exception to this rule is if the new month begins in a new notebook. In that case, I'll set up the month when I set up the journal, and we'll talk about switching journals a little bit later in the video. For me, it takes about an hour and a half to complete a new month setup. Between drawing and sketching to the final product, I try to give myself a few hours to work on making it pretty, because I feel more inspired to move to the next month if it's aesthetic. If it's your first time doing monthly pages, I recommend giving yourself a few days to work on it. Not all at once, but just say 15 minutes a day over the course of a week. This gives you a chance to slow down and focus on setting up trackers or just drawing your cover page, and this can also make it more fun if you're feeling particularly artsy. Whenever you decide you have time to set up your monthly pages is a good time to start. Just remember to budget your pages so that you don't run out mid-month. With the exception of page budgeting and very artistically heavy spreads, no, I would not stress yourself about having to plan monthly pages. Page budgeting is just helpful to, again, make sure that if you write a page a day and you're making your spreads for September on August 25th, you don't only leave yourself with 4 pages for August. If you're going for a more artistic look or it's something that requires a lot of drawing, you may want to plan and rough draft this. However, I operate under the rule that for me, it's just not that serious. One time I wrote June instead of July on my monthly pages, and I just covered that with a sticky note instead of ripping it out. Could it have been avoided if I planned? Sure, maybe, but the imperfections that make us as people more beautiful will also make your journal more beautiful. While I don't plan monthly pages, I will collect things that relate to that theme. Usually I develop my theme about a week before I make my monthly pages, so I'll choose stickers and collect paper that remind me of that theme, which is what I'll then use. So in general, monthly pages should really have no impact on the rest of your journaling, nor should they change the way that you journal. The only impact monthly pages would really have on your journal routine is remembering to fill out trackers or to make time to make those pages. Outside of that, they're just extra pages for you to have your own tracking purposes or to look back on in the future. If they are taking away from your journal experience or you just find them to be a burden, by all means, cut them out and don't do them again. Don't burden yourself in your journal just to have trackers. There are definitely other ways to do it, like writing on the page that you do your daily entries on, for instance. Finding a way that works for you should mean that monthly pages don't really impact your journaling at all. When one journal is full, you can switch to a new one, and that is the way I typically view switching journals. However, what I mean when I say when do I switch is what time of the month do I switch, or what day of the week. While yes, I'll switch when my current journal gets full, I try to match it to the beginning of a month. This makes it more cohesive and makes me less likely to forget about monthly pages, and it also keeps things chronological for when I'm looking back on my journals. I'll typically switch journals every 3 months. That's about how long it takes me to fill up a B5 Lois term, but of course, if I fill up a journal before that time, or even after, I'll just switch when I need to. If you're switching journals in the middle of a month, it can be easy to forget about your monthly pages. Sometimes I would switch journals in the middle of the month and completely forget to fill out the last half of my habit trackers. So what I recommend is setting yourself a digital reminder to fill it out as often as you need to. For instance, if you're keeping a habit tracker for August, but in the middle of August you have to switch journals because you filled up your current notebook, set a daily reminder for your journal time to go back to your old journal and fill in the tracker. If you know that you're going to switch journals relatively early in the month, you could also put your trackers at the start of the new journal so that it's easier to remember to do. When it comes to the question of when I will set up my new journal, I'll usually set it up a month before I know that I'll be switching to it. This gives me the time I need and want to either buy a new notebook or choose one if I already have several to switch to. It also gives me time to set up both the journal and the monthly pages for the upcoming month without feeling like I have to rush. On top of this, a benefit I found with setting up the journals a month in advance is that I don't have to try and cram it in right when I'm about to switch journals. I can simply grab the next journal and it's ready for me to use. Setting up a new journal is going to be entirely dependent on the way you currently journal, so instead I'll walk you through how I set up each of my journals. The very first thing that I do is I decorate the cover. The cover is usually a mix of things I'm enjoying as well as stickers that I feel represent where I'm at during the duration of the journal. Right now my journal cover is my favorite lyric from my favorite song, but I've also done photos that I've found pretty, quotes that have stuck with me, things like that. The second thing that I'll set up is my inside cover page. On the inside cover, I like to write out the period that this journal will be taking place in. So what I'll do is I'll write the date that I start, and then I'll leave space to write the date that I finish the journal. Underneath these two boxes, I'll write how many days that was. So this is how I know how often I go through a journal, and this helps me determine how many journals I'll use in a year. On the right-hand side, I'll put my information in case I ever lose my journal and a picture. Sometimes it's of a celebrity I'm into or a lyric that I like, etc. Whatever represents me at the time, I'll put in that right side page. I used to put a song lyric that resonated with me on the page before my table of contents. In Moist terms, this is just a blank white page that kind of divides the journal up, but I got really bored of that and stopped. It was a lot of work and the page never turned properly and it just never looked very good. So nowadays I just move on to the very first page. To save myself from first page jitters, I've turned my first page into a hello journal page. On it, I'll write a quick paragraph recap of what happened in the previous journal, go over what things I know are coming up in this journal, and give a general overview of where I'm at in life as we begin another adventure. I'll decorate this page with photos, stickers, and washi tape as well. For me, this first page is important in case I ever lose my old journals. I would like to be able to have just a quick recap so I don't have to either A, reread all of my journals, or B, like I said, if I ever lost it, I would at least know generally what happened in the journal prior. Lastly, I'll make my 2 monthly spreads, which are my collage page and title and my monthly soundtrack. This, to me, signifies that my journal is ready to be used, and I'll put it away until I finish my current journal. In this video, we went over a more niche subject regarding monthly pages, but I hope that you found some inspiration and insight within the video. This video is not to discourage you from doing monthly trackers. In fact, it's the opposite. You should give these things a try and see if they work for you, and if they don't, then you scrap them. For me, the simpler monthly pages are, the better they work for me, but I could never go back to not having at least one monthly page, even if my trackers all failed. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. Please do consider liking and subscribing to stay tuned with the series, and feel free to drop your questions or comments below. I'll be adding questions to upcoming videos to help you get better acquainted with daily journaling. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.